Hi, Dr. Huntington here, and in this video I'm going to cover the main reasons the winter season can sometimes feel more draining than the rest of the year. Now, I'll concede that the reason might be because you have to go over to your Aunt Millie's house every year. Maybe you don't particularly like your Aunt Millie because she's not very nice or something like that, right? That could be part of the reason. If she's one of those like bad energy people that sort of suck the life out of you when you're around her. Well, that could be why, you don't like the holidays, but there's another factor here that plays out over the winter season. And it affects more than just the people that your Aunt Millie terrorizes. In fact, it affects everyone every year. It's the shorter days of winter, which means, less hours of sunlight. And so for most people, that translates into, less daily sun exposure. And depending on where you live, this could, impact your health pretty significantly. You might hear something like this referred to as a seasonal affective disorder. Now, I don't like that label for many reasons, but I wanted to mention it because, when doctors use that label, they're usually referring to the kind of seasonal symptoms I'm talking about here. These symptoms tend to show up in late fall and often last through the end of the winter. The symptoms can be things like anxiety or loneliness, sadness, just loss of interest in things, trouble sleeping, or the opposite, like sleeping too much. Could be fatigue or irritability or appetite changes, and also strong like carbohydrate cravings. And because of these kinds of symptoms, you're more susceptible to getting sick, or gaining weight, and of course, feeling the effects of holiday stress. So, it's the change in sunlight, due to the shorter days, and in colder regions, maybe you're less likely to go outside, in the winter because of the temperature. These factors are at the root of this problem for most people. And it's because your vitamin D levels fluctuate in relation to sunlight exposure. You see, your body uses sunlight to make vitamin D. And vitamin D helps you to, synthesize the feel-good hormones like serotonin and dopamine. And the problem is low levels of these hormones are linked to depression, and poor mental health. So the solution in most cases is get more vitamin D in the late fall and winter months. And to do that, you can spend more time in the sun, or you can use an indoor lamp that mimics natural sunlight. What most people should do, in fact, almost everyone should take a vitamin D supplement every day. Depending on your vitamin D levels, between 5,000 and 10,000 IU per day, throughout the year is good for most people. And make sure that your vitamin D supplement also contains vitamin K2 because you always need to take K2 when you supplement with vitamin D. And if you want to see the ratio of vitamin D, to vitamin K2 that I recommend, go to bodymanual.com and look up the product called vitamin D3K2. And there on the website, you can see the label. Other things that you'll want to do, especially as the days get shorter, is start your day off early, by getting up at least a little bit before the sun comes up. But when you do that, make sure that you go to sleep early enough, to get at least 7 hours of sleep. And make sure to eat plenty of vitamin D rich foods, things like wild-caught salmon, pasture-raised eggs, and replace any refined carbohydrates in your diet with lots of non-starchy vegetables. And there are several reasons to make that move. First, the refined carbs break down quickly into sugar, and that's not good for your physical or your mental health. In fact, a 2017 study on adults in New Zealand, followed them around for a 2-week period. And there were two groups. They had a control group that made no dietary changes, while the other group made one change. They ate 2 additional servings of fruit and vegetables every day. The control group experienced no changes like in their mental health, while the fruit and vegetable group reported that they felt better, they felt more creative, they had greater motivation. Now, because most people already eat too much sugar, you should make that 2 servings of vegetables rather than a fruit and a vegetable. And you want to limit your fruit intake to about a 1/4 cup of berries a day at the most. I don't even eat fruit every day, so some days no fruit for me, no berries, no other fruits. Except the avocado, right, which a lot of people think is a vegetable. It's actually a fruit, but nonetheless, super healthy. Your best bet, as you head into fall and then into the winter season, is to keep your vitamin D levels high. Eat plenty of healthy, nutrient-dense food, and get some exercise. Because even low-intensity exercise, helps to maintain the normal circadian rhythm, which is your body's internal clock that regulates your sleep-wake cycle. And that cycle impacts your sleep, your appetite, your hormone production, and your activity patterns in general. Okay, with that said, let's get going and making these shorter days even happier and more fun ones. All right, I'll see you in the next video.